The chime of the bell beckons us into a sacred time. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, where we widen love's circle by honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all. We extend a heartfelt and inclusive invitation for you to join us in this meaningful worship and in service to the world. Buenos días y bienvenidos a esta comunidad donde ampliamos el círculo del amor, honorando el valor y la dignidad inherentes de todos. We greet all those who join us this morning. We hope those watching the live stream will fill out the online attendance form and refer to the many announcements in the online order of service. We ask those here in person to take a moment to check in by scanning the QR code on the front of your order of service. Then after the service, seek out someone you don't yet know and invite them, have a conversation. Just say hello, have a cup of coffee. The annual meeting of the membership is scheduled for June 1st at 1 p.m. in the sanctuary. That's next week. Much of the important business of the church is voted on at this meeting, so please mark your calendars and make plans to attend. Again, that's next Sunday, June 1st at 1 p.m. If you will not be able to attend, please fill out the absentee ballot. They are available in the church office. Now, please turn in your teal hymnals to number 1054. That's 1054. Let this be a house of peace. Please rise in body or spirit as we lift our voices together in song.
Today's call to worship is by Gretchen Haley and is titled "The Bright Thread of Hope." There's too much beauty in this world to give up on it yet, and it is always too soon to surrender to cynicism. Bring your doubt, your skepticism, your downright confusion, even your bitterness. But in the midst of all these, in the center, wrap your tender fingers around that still, bright thread of hope. Feel in your heart that still, steady hunger for something more. The vision we glimpse every day in the rising sun across the foothills. The light that spreads across the face of the one we love. The look of knowing all there is to know and still loving life. Loving us just as it is, just as we are. For this hour, we come to celebrate, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. Come, let us worship together.
Celebremos compartiendo nuestras vidas, encendiendo esta luz.
Please join me in reciting our congregational covenant, which can be found in your order of service. Love is the spirit of our congregation. Service is our prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to encourage one another. Thus do we covenant.
much. Now's the time when the younger folks get to go do some special activities, and that's because you are such a special part of our church. Very much loved and very important as people who come here with us. So we are going to sing as you all head out with John. John is going to take you to your cool activities. And if all the adults would look in your order of service, you will find the words to As You Go. So let's sing as they head out. We also thank the Sanctuary Choir for singing at both services, and I always look forward to the offerings that they give us. Between the cherished rituals of lighting and extinguishing the chalice and the hymns and readings, we enter into a time to commune with our spirit. We long to connect to that which is bigger than ourselves in order to expand our devotional awareness and transform our lives. We pause the rush and endeavor to shut out distractions. Just as we must calm the lake to see the bottom, we strive to calm our minds to see deep into ourselves. This is a time that some call meditation and others name prayer. Let your body settle into a comfortable place. Deeply inhale, then slowly exhale as you continue mindful, rhythmic breathing. Breathe with me. Open your mind, open your heart. God of many names and mystery beyond all our naming, we bow our heads in order to imagine not one path but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crises, and other roadblocks we cannot begin to understand or imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be a welcoming presence along that path toward hope. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path toward hope. We imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely. May we take one another's hands as we walk that path toward community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward and take one another's hands, the paths will lead to hope, the roads will lead to beloved community, and the arc will bend toward justice, because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. We pray in the names of all those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten. We pray in the names of all helpers of humankind. Amen. We pause now together to lift up that which sits heavy and light on our hearts. Please hold Remington Alessi, Jeff Skarda, and their families in your hearts as they contend with health challenges. We mourn with the friends and families of Yaron Lishkinsky and Sarah Milgram, who were murdered leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. late Wednesday. The couple were about to become engaged, and the shooting has been condemned as an anti-Semitic hate crime. On this anniversary year, remember the fight against racism continues. This is the book we put in the foyer, encouraging you to write your joys and concerns. Prayers for the many HISD building maintenance workers who are losing their jobs in spite of the ongoing problems with non-working air conditioners, and for the many teachers and students who are stuck in overheated buildings. In remembering 1st Cavalry's sacrifices, I'm sorry if I say the last name wrong, and Deborah Fahili. We now turn to a practice inspired by African, indigenous, and pagan traditions. We say aloud or bring to mind those who we wish to be held by the loving embrace of this religious community. They are part of the great cloud of witness and memory, and we will, even if we do not know their names, hold them in our hearts. In this great cloud of witness and memory, amid this beloved community, we hear these names and hold them in our hearts. Let us remember the suffering and joy amid and among our community that we do not know. We now enter into a time of stillness. Even in stillness, there is movement. Sometimes it takes time for the molecules of change to shift form. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, transformation is taking place. In the spirit of love, hope, and compassion, we enter into a time of silent prayer, meditation, and transformation.
Each week, our morning offering is shared with an organization that shares our Unitarian Universalist values and through which we may live out our principles in the world. Today, through our shared offering to the SHAPE Community Center, we are helping to improve the quality of life for our neighbors of African descent through programs and activities. Since 1969, SHAPE has been one of the most visible and involved centers in Houston's African American community and the Houston community as a whole. SHAPE has led the way toward justice, equal opportunity, and institution building. And according to Deloitte T. Parker Jr., the co-founder and executive director of SHAPE, they emphasize unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Those in our sanctuary will find the instructions for text giving in the order of service next to the name of the shared offering recipient. And those watching the live stream will see the instructions on your screen. Our regular Sunday morning offering collection invites us to weave a tapestry of love and action. We ask you to give generously. An offering will now be gratefully received.
Please join me in dedicating the offering by saying the words found in your order of service. To the work of this church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Our first reading this morning is March into Virginia, ending in the first Manassas, July 1861, by Herman Melville. And after choosing this poem, I realized it would probably be a good idea to put it in its context so you could understand some of the sentiment therein. The raw, untested Union troops that met the Confederate Army on the plains of Manassas, July 21st, 1861, were not prepared for the drubbing administered to them by their Southern counterparts. So high was their confidence as they entered Virginia that many stopped along the way to pick berries and treated the march as a picnic outing. Those who survived to fight again at Manassas the following summer counted First Manassas as the moment that began their conversion from green recruits to seasoned veterans. The poem reflects the disillusionment and cynicism that characterized the Civil War era, where initial optimism gave way to bloody reality. Did all the lets and bars appear to every just or larger end? Whence should come the trust and cheer? Youth must its ignorant impulse lend. Age finds its place in the rear. All wars are boyish and are fought by boys, the champions and enthusiasts of the state. Turbid ardors and vain joys not barrenly abate, stimulants to the power mature, preparatives of fate. Who here forecasteth the event? What heart but spurns at precedent and warnings of the wise, contemned foreclosures of surprise? The banners play, the bugles call, the air is blue and prodigal. No burying party, pleasure wooed, no picnic party in May, ever went less loath than they into that leafy neighborhood. In Bacchic glee they file toward fate, Moloch's uninitiate, expectancy and glad surmise of battle's unknown mysteries. All they feel is this: 'tis glory, a rapture sharp, though transitory, yet lasting in belaureled story. So gaily go to fight, chatting left and laughing right. But some who this blithe mood present, as on in lightsome files they fare, shall die, experienced ere 3 days be spent, perish, enlightened by the volleyed glare, or shame survive, and like to adamant, thy aftershock, Manassas, share. There ends the first reading.
Our second reading today is In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Here ends the second reading.
I invite you to open your teal hymnals once again to number 1006, In My Quiet Sorrow. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices in song with me.
2 weeks ago on Mother's Day, many of my remarks centered on our experience of grief. The next day, I looked ahead to today's sermon and realized it would be Memorial Day, so I fear I'm being typecast. Unitarian Universalist minister and theologian Forrest Church told us, religion is the human response to being alive and having to die. So perhaps it should not seem odd that one of the reasons we gather here in community is to ponder how our death and the death of others informs the way we live today. But we also gather in community to remind ourselves and one another that, in Dr. King's words, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. So I promise you, my next sermon will be celebratory. It will be Pride Month, and I'll be talking about the 10th anniversary of marriage equality. First, allow me to take a step back and ask, why do we set aside specific days to remember the dead? Why do so many of our holidays ask us to remember those who have died? We honor those who died in military service. We remember those who died too soon. We honor iconic leaders, President's Day, and the legacy of a slain civil rights leader on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, and, as I mentioned before, Mother's Day, are days when we often honor those who have passed. The early Christian custom of commemorating each martyr annually on the day of their death gave way to the calendar of saints. This is a traditional method of organizing a liturgical year by associating each day with one or more saints. So every day of the year was a day to honor the dead. Now, before moving to Texas, I really was not familiar with Dia de los Muertos, when family and friends gathered to pay their respects and remember the beloveds who have died. This past year, I really came to appreciate the ofrenda, the home altar graced with marigolds and the favorite foods and beverages of the departed. Nor do I really remember acknowledging All Souls Day in my youth, although I always started designing my Halloween costume months in advance. How could they not have known? So I would count this as the first of our reasons to remember the dead, to mourn them. The loss of someone close leaves a void in our lives. I just spoke at length about grieving, so I won't say much more, except how important it is to mourn in our own way, using our own timeline. But not only to mourn, but to celebrate their lives. When planning memorial services, families will often ask that it be called a celebration of the person's life. I think that's why I've grown to love the ofrenda, using it to remember and celebrate the wonderful people we lost. We also remember the dead to know our story. My great and great-great-grandfathers owned a post office and general store. Years later, the house my grandparents lived in from the time my mother was just a baby was built nearby. Because of the post office, the area took their name and was known as Pruitt, Kentucky. And while the post office and general store are long gone, the road there is still called Pruitt Road. Knowing parts of my story gives me a kind of grounding that is difficult to describe. People who were adopted as babies sometimes yearn to find their story. While they typically consider their adoptive parents their real parents, they sometimes long to find out more. This is something I did not write in my prepared notes because I just thought of it in between the services talking to Elaine, but this stole is made from the neckties of my father and Conrad's father. I also have a stole that is made from the garments and sewing projects of my two grandmothers. So these are ways for me to remember them and to remember their stories as well. So that's why I wanted to walk out from behind there and show it to you. Our story is important, so I encourage you to ask the older folks in your life to tell stories, to know what life was like before you were around. You'll appreciate having done that later. We also remember the dead to face mortality. I've told many of you this one-on-one. After my parents died, I realized my time on earth here is limited. Well, of course, I knew that in my head. After all, I had been a hospital chaplain and had seen people of all ages, shapes, and sizes pass away. But my parents' deaths made it hit home, and the inevitable became more tangible. I realized I wasn't spending enough time with Conrad, and it led me to move up my retirement. Also, we remember the dead to gain wisdom. I find myself reflecting on the lives of my parents and grandparents to learn. So this is one of the places where having asked their stories is important. Learned not just from the things they intentionally set out to teach me, but from looking at how they lived their lives. When I'm tempted to second guess their choices, though, I think about how the options for them looked very different than the options that I might have had. And I must point out the wealth of knowledge and wisdom found in books, which is why libraries are so important. The author's influence can live long after they are gone, from ancient sacred scriptures to from the world's religions, to Shakespeare, to Herman Melville, to your next summer beach paperback. These words live on beyond the lives of their authors. My brother died at age 17, the day before my 22nd birthday. His death made me reconsider many things I believed. I no longer believe things happen only for the best or even for a reason. I no longer believe things would make sense if we just knew God's plan, because God is always good. I came to believe that really horrible things just happen. Randy's death provided a reason to reconsider what I believed, and that significantly altered my theology, and I believe it made me wiser. We remember the dead to honor them. Days such as Memorial Day are set aside to honor those who gave their lives and whose lives were far shorter than they deserved. Cultural and civil rights leaders, saints and religious exemplars, and of course our beloved ancestors. Some of the most compelling architecture was designed and built to honor the dead. 2 years ago on Memorial Day, I described the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Now, if you've not been there in person, I imagine that you've seen a photograph. The memorial is 2 black granite walls engraved with the names of those service members who died or remained missing as a result of their service in the war. Visiting it was, for me, unexpectedly heartrending. On May 18th, 2018, a mass shooting in Galveston County on Santa Fe High School's campus left 8 students and 2 teachers dead. Plans were revealed just this week for a permanent memorial, which will feature 10 oversized feathers, 1 for each life lost. These places provide a place to remember and honor the dead, and provide a place for grief and healing. Finally, I would contend that we remember the dead to seek justice. Last week, the antebellum mansion on the Nottoway plantation in Louisiana burned to the ground. Built in 1859 by sugar magnate John Hamden Randolph, the estate was powered by the forced labor of more than 150 enslaved people, a fact often glossed over in tourist brochures. Some see poetic justice in the ashes of a plantation that, according to many, never meaningfully confronted its legacy of slavery. Turning a blind eye to the atrocities committed there, the property was being marketed as a wedding venue and luxury getaway. Remembering the dead enslaved people who were exploited in such places propels us to continue to work for justice. Well over well over 500,000 Americans died in the 2 world wars, fighting fascism. Remembering these dead propels us to fight against fascism now that it has been embraced in our country. As I read this week, all gave some gave all, one gave nothing, and he wants a military parade. So there are many reasons to take time to remember the dead. And today, we take time to do so. 5 years ago, we combined the Memorial Day remembrance and candle ritual with one to remember those who had died from COVID-19. We will do that again today. Also, I will again expand the ritual to include more of those who saw their lives cut short far too early, along with a pledge to work toward an end to the pervasive violence. We begin by acknowledging that Memorial Day is set aside to honor and mourn the military personnel who perished while serving in the United States Armed Forces. Over 1.3 million have perished in the wars in which the U.S. have been involved. We mourn not only for the loss of life, but for the fact that many of them died fighting a fascism that has made its way onto our shores. We remember them and thank them for the sacrifice they made. Our hearts go out to those who loved and still love them. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from falling hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. We pledge to hold the torch high and work toward an end to war and violence. We light a candle for all those who died in service to their fellow citizens of the United States. Next, we mourn the military around the world who perished while serving their own country. Since 1800, more than 37 million people worldwide have died while actively fighting in wars. We remember them, and our hearts go out to those who love them. We pledge to work toward an end to war and violence. To be free from violence is the duty of every man. No thought of revenge, hatred, or ill should arise in our minds. Injuring others gives rise to hatred. We light a candle for all those who fought wars around the globe. Next, we honor and mourn those who perished from the violence of fierce and unpredictable weather, which we have seen firsthand here in Texas. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has confirmed there were 27 weather and climate disasters in 2024 that created at least $1 billion in damage. These include 1 drought, 1 flood, 17 severe storms, 5 tropical cyclones, 1 wildfire, and 2 winter storms. They caused a tragic 568 deaths across the country. We light a candle for all those who lost their lives in weather-related deaths. Next, we honor and mourn those civilians around the world who have perished from violence. Many are due to military conflict or terrorism, unwitting victims of their leaders' inability to peaceably solve differences. Some civilians are murdered by someone they know or someone sworn to protect them, some by strangers on the street or in their homes or schools. In the U.S., between 2019 and 2020, during the early part of the stress-filled pandemic, there was a 30% jump in murders. This was the largest single-year increase in more than a century. Thankfully, since then, there has been a dramatic drop in homicides, but thousands continue to perish due to violence. I believe that I must here highlight the epidemic of violence against trans people. The Human Rights Campaign reports the deaths of at least 32 transgender and gender expansive people whose lives were tragically taken through violent means, including gun and intimate partner violence, in 2024 alone. In that year, 78% of victims were people of color, 56% were black transgender women, and 63% were killed with a gun. And I again mention Yaron Lishchinsky and Sarah Milgram, the couple about to begin a new life together, callously gunned down in Washington. We pledge to work for common sense gun laws so that this violence might end. We light a candle for all those who lost their lives due to violence. Last year, when we lit this candle, there were almost 705 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the world. Today, there have been more than 777 million cases and more than 7.1 million deaths. There have been over 1.2 million deaths in the United States from the coronavirus. We again light a large candle for all those killed by these infectious diseases across the world. The last time I preached, I described anticipatory grief, which is grief before a loss. People typically experience anticipatory grief when given a worrying diagnosis for themselves or a loved one. While profoundly sad, I feel compelled to light a candle in anticipation that there will be many who will lose their lives due to incompetent and uncaring leadership. According to Nature.com, the United States spent roughly $12 billion on global health in 2024. Without that yearly spending, roughly 25 million people could die in the next 15 years, according to models that have estimated the impact of such cuts on programs for tuberculosis, HIV, family planning, and maternal and child health. And according to the Center for American Progress, Medicaid cuts would result in widespread coverage losses, which could lead to roughly 32,200 deaths from reduced federal funding each year. We again light a large candle with great sorrow for all those who should not have to die so soon. We have lit these candles to remember those whose lives ended too soon. All lives are precious, and we mourn the futures that could have been but will not be. We have lit these candles to face the difficult reality of our present and past, where there is war, pandemic, and violence. We have lit these candles to rekindle our source of hope for the future as we join together for a better and more peaceful tomorrow. We have pledged to hold the torch high and work toward an end to war and violence. For this hour, we came to remember, to celebrate, to honor, to praise, to give thanks, to refuse to give up, to steady ourselves, keepers of hope, brave builders of this still possible world. I ask you to join me in wrapping our fingers around that still bright thread of hope. Amen.
I invite you to open your gray hymnals now to number 115, God of Grace and God of Glory. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices with me in song. Fill us with a living vision, heal our wounds that we may be boundless one beyond division in the struggle to be free. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, ears to hear and eyes to see. Ears to hear and eyes to see.
Please join me in reciting the words to extinguish the chalice, which can be found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
For those whose lives were cut short, may their memories inspire us in hope, not despair. May their memories be a blessing, and may we be inspired by their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating the beloved community. May their memory help us to transform ourselves into justice makers and transform the world into heaven on earth. Amen. Go in peace and blessed be.
Thank you for joining us. We want to know who you are and would love to connect with you. Please fill out the link to the online attendance form, and if you are on YouTube, click like and subscribe. If you're interested in joining our congregation, email us at membership@firstuuhouston.org. Thanks so much.